and welcome to our latest episode of The Game Raiders. I'm your host, Sergio, and I'm here with my co-host, Drew.
Hello.
Hey, Drew, so how are you this week?
I'm doing pretty good. The new Destiny 2 expansion just dropped, Beyond Light, so yeah, things have been pretty good with that so far.
As we're recording this, it is November, the Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, baby.
Yeah. Hey, did you have any luck getting a game console?
No.
No. I tried to get an Xbox. I asked off of work for Tuesday, and I was up basically all night Monday night until like 3 a.m. trying different sites. Mm-hmm. 2 times I got the Xbox into my cart, and 2 times it crashed and I lost the Xbox.
You've had really bad luck.
Yeah, I tried the pre-order too. But you know what's so funny? This is the dumbest thing. So, you know the Xbox All Access we talked about, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a line of credit with the bank. Yeah. The bank is like Citizen One. And I applied for it through Target when I put the Xbox in my cart, and it was approved like immediately, right? And I think that's why the site crashed. I think it's because it was like loading that and then loading the Xbox and then people buying Xboxes. I think that's what happened. So I was like, dang it. Well, I guess I'm not gonna get if I didn't get the Xbox, I don't get the credit. Yeah. Then I get an email the next day. It's like, hey, here's a link to sign up to finish filling out for your your credit was already approved, and so I have whatever $850 to my name. So I called the bank, and they're like, yeah, you do have the account already. I was like, so what do I do if I didn't get the Xbox? And they're like, well, all you got to do is just whenever you're planning to get the Xbox, you just sign up for the All Access, and you're already approved, so it just accepts your account. I was like, okay, that's cool. But I have 150 days to do that. Mm-hmm. So if I don't get an Xbox in like 5 months, it closes out.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, nothing crazy. It's just that was funny that I still got that like 8 line of credit for not getting the Xbox. It was kind of heartbreaking.
Well, maybe when you do finally get one that you can actually keep your hands on in the cart, maybe you'll be able to still use that line of credit.
Yeah. I don't even know if I can like go to the store and be like, oh, I have a line of credit. And they're like,
yeah, sure. Sure you do.
No, for real. I don't got to pay anything.
They're carrying you out, like security's just carrying you out like...
No, this is my Xbox.
This is my Xbox. Okay, sir, whatever you say.
This is a Arby's. And then I saw that PlayStation pretty much the same problem. People were having issues just trying to. A lot of people were getting them in their cars and stuff. Also saw a lot of things of like FedEx drivers stealing people's Xboxes and PlayStations.
Oof.
And I was like, God damn, dude, that would suck.
Yeah.
And then just a few cases. I mean, because every launch, there's gonna be people are gonna get some consoles that are just defected, right?
Yeah.
And there's been a few cases for both Xbox and PlayStation where people get home, they're up all night waiting for the pre-order to drop or whatever online. They get the Xbox, they get the PlayStation 5, they get it home from picking it up from Target or wherever. They plug it in, it turns on, and then immediately dies, and it won't turn back on.
Yeah, I've also heard a few reports of bricked consoles.
Yeah. That's just some bad luck too, because I mean it's gonna happen. I mean, because they're making millions of consoles that you figure 1% is going to be defected.
Yeah. Well, but the good thing is they're guaranteed a replacement from Microsoft or Sony. So either way. The other thing is people were like trying to say that their Xbox was smoking when really the dude just blew his vape into the fan and was like, "Oh, it's smoking." Like, bro, come on.
Yeah. I saw Xbox tweeted, they're like, I can't believe you have to say this, but please don't vape into your Xbox.
Yeah, right? Like, it's 2020, and we have people trying to actually heat their consoles up.
Yeah, I wonder what that does to the inside of the console. That's crazy. And then on top of that, Burger King, if you saw this, they are doing a promotion where, like, if you buy, I think, 2 Whopper or something like that, you can have a chance to win a PS5.
Taco Bell's with Xbox, Burger King's with Sony.
Taco Bell's already ended.
Oh, did they? Okay. Yeah.
It ended. It was like before because it was like, I think it ended a week before because it was like you still get it on the day of launch. So if you won like on the week before, you still would have gotten it in a week.
Yeah.
Versus,
I'm really curious.
I think Burger King is like you get like a thing and then you pick it up or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I never wanted one of those.
I'm really curious if it's actually going to drive people to go to Burger King, because nobody I know actually wants to go to Burger King for the food.
I don't know, man. The Impossible Whopper is pretty good. I think it's the best thing they have.
Better than their actual burger.
Yeah.
That they're known for.
It's a vegan burger, bro. And it's so good. All right. So that's just a little, so Drew, what are we talking about today?
So we thought it would be fun to kind of go over, like, because everybody talks about, the Marios, the Zeldas, the Halos, the Call of Duties, the ones that are like the big AAA published games that everybody, wants to get, and, that get, I don't know what the ranking is at the Game Awards. Is it stars? I don't know. Whatever. They're always talking about Game of the Year and shit like that. Well, we're doing the opposite of that, baby. We're talking about the underrated gems, the shit that you pull out from under, like, it's in a shoebox underneath your bed, and you're like, oh man, what fun memories. Like, you dust it off, you slap it into your PS2 or whatever, and you go to town.
So we did 5 each. So total is 10.
Yeah, let's do 10.
These are the Game Raiders official.
Yeah.
10 most underrated games.
Yeah.
So
you want to start?
I want to talk about what my thought process was with underrated.
Okay.
So for me, I was like, it has to be there's 2 things for me that I thought of immediately. One was the amount of copies sold. So if it just did underperformed, not many people played it, that's underrated, right? And then the second was, if I was to walk up to you and be like, have you heard of this game?
Right.
And they'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That would be another like.
Bro, have you ever heard of Super Mario Odyssey? What?
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you walk up to a gamer and you're like, did you know about Halo? They're like, yeah, I know Halo.
Yeah.
And maybe they never play Halo, but they know of it, right? These are games where, like, how you walk up to somebody and you're like, hey, man, have you heard of this game? They're like, what are you talking about?
Do you know about Bubsy? Who?
Yeah. You know about, like, Bugsnax? I mean, Bugsnax under it's like.
I mean, it's kind of in the nexus right now. Well, we were also talking about before the show about, like, how I kind of also consider underrated to mean, like, if it wasn't, like, necessarily critically acclaimed, but it was like it didn't get good ratings upon release or something like that. Maybe it just got, like, average or something like that. It's another interpretation.
I think that's also fair.
But it's really up to, like, it is really up to your interpretation of what you think underrated is, and, like,
yeah.
At the end of the day,
most of the games I chose, like, I think majority of them are more critically acclaimed games.
Yeah.
They just don't have the player base. And then I think the games you chose are more they're a
little bit more niche,
acclaimed.
But, like, I think there's one of them that got pretty good reviews, and then the rest of them got kind of, like, average reviews. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just excited to dive in and talk about some of these. Actually,
all right, we'll start with your number 1.
Okay. Well, for my number 1 on my list, I went with a licensed game from the early 2000s. This was, like, during the period where EA actually made pretty decent video games, like, published pretty decent video games.
You lied.
And they had the license to the Lord of the Rings film game rights, like, so they made, like, a couple of different games, including this one, Lord of the Rings: The Third Age, for the GameCube, the Xbox, and the original Xbox, and the PS2. There was also a Game Boy Advance version, but that was completely different. It was more of a top-down, like, kind of like tactics style game. And then the console version was actually a turn-based RPG. It's the only turn-based RPG based on the Lord of the Rings IP. So it kind of, if you're familiar with, like, Final Fantasy, it actually plays very similarly to Final Fantasy X, the combat system, where it has, like, initiative, and it kind of, like, waits for you to make your decision and all this kind of stuff. So, and that's really why I think this game holds up for me, and why I keep going back to it over and over again, is because I love this gameplay, and I love, like, I wish we had more turn-based Lord of the Rings RPGs, like, actually, because it is a lot of fun. The story is absolute garbage. The story of this game is fucking...
What is the story?
So you do follow kind of the path of the movies a little bit. Like, you start in Fellowship, and you kind of go through Moria, and then you go to Rohan, you go to Helm's Deep, you go to all the big... like the big battles that everybody expects you to be, or like everybody expects to see in a Lord of the Rings game, and but you're playing like OCs, so you're like,
oh, really?
So like you're playing as like completely original characters that never showed up in the movies, although they tried to like pass off like some of the extras as like, no, that they based the character models off some of the extras in the movies. So they're like, no, they were really there. Look.
Is there any character where you play as that guy from Flight of the Conchords?
What guy from Flight of the Wait, which one?
Not. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name.
Not Jermaine.
Not Jermaine. The other one.
Oh.
He's in Lord of the Rings. He's He's like an extra. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. No,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
He's like in
That's
one
funny
shot,
though.
And people, because he's from New Zealand.
Oh yeah.
People like went nuts. They're like, oh, this guy.
But yeah, like it and also the animations don't really hold up as well anymore. It's just kind of a fun. It's really fun to make fun of now. Actually, you just go back and you're like, oh, like this fucking captain of Gondor is being like controlled by Saruman to find Boromir.
Brett McKenzie, that's his name.
Yeah, there you go. And then there's like absolutely ludicrous things, like you're fighting with Gandalf against the Balrog on the bridge of Khazad-dûm, which in the movie is like
that never happened.
2 feet wide, and then you can fit 4 people on it at the same time.
To do turn-based combat.
Like, yeah, turn-based combat, but also like the Fellowship is like somewhere over here watching all of this happen, right? So like, did they see these characters? Like, what is happening? Anyway, but the skills, I mean, like the skill trees are absolutely like fucking nuts, and it's kind of like one of the beautiful things about a turn-based like Final Fantasy-esque combat system is like you can like summon a great eagle to like swoop in and just like tear at your enemies, and then you can also just like the dwarf character that you get in your party can like rain down giant flaming meteors from a volcano. It's pretty fucking rad, honestly. But yeah, it didn't like I said, it got pretty average reviews. Like most of the games that I picked got pretty average reviews in the 7s, range. According to EA, so this game was released in 2004, by the way. According to EA, by the end of 2004, it had sold 1 million units, which
not a lot,
is not a lot. But not terrible, but also like not great. Which is probably why we've never gotten another like either a sequel or a spiritual successor, especially from EA, because I think they lost the license to WB. Yeah,
Montreal.
WB took it back.
No, they didn't take it back.
Well, they didn't take it back
at the time. New Line Cinema owned the rights to the film.
Well, they own the rights to the film, not the books.
Yeah. Well, they own the film rights or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Warner Brothers.
I think New Line Cinema is a subsidiary.
Is it now? They bought New Line?
Warner Brothers, I think.
Not at the time. I know it was a big deal.
I think now it is.
Yeah, it might be now. And well, maybe not, because I mean, freaking 007 is still New Line, and they're not owned by. No, they're MGM now.
No, that's MGM. Yeah, 007's MGM.
My bad. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
So I pull up the cover, and it's literally.
Yeah, that's what they use to sell the game.
The
Balrog
Balrog fight, and you got 4 people on this tiny bridge.
Yeah, the bridge is like 2 feet. Fuck you.
You shall not pass.
And you know what's funny is also they have like in the game they have these.
Gandalf. We saved you from falling.
They have these.
No,
he still falls.
He still falls.
He still fucking falls. No, because here's the thing. And also in the game, they have these things they call epic scenes. It's literally just scenes ripped straight from the movie. Yeah. As soon as you beat the Balrog, it cuts to the scene from the movie. So, like, it shows the in-game scene of him going, "You shall not pass." He slams the staff down. It cuts to the movie scene, and you see the bridge is, like, 2 feet wide.
Oh, is that, like, literally just, like, a clip from the movie?
Yes!
Not recreated or anything?
No.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy.
And I'm like, bro.
You know, every year we get closer and closer to those movies being, well, yeah, this year would be the 20th anniversary for, No, next year, right?
Next year would be for Fellowship.
Yeah. Like 20 years, man. Oh my god. I watched those movies in theaters.
I'm due for my yearly rewatch of the extended.
Me too.
So anyway, what is the first game on your list, Sergio?
All right, Drew. Have you heard of a game called A Plague Tale: Innocence?
I have not, actually.
So, met the criteria already. You're a gamer.
One criteria.
Never heard of this game.
Nope.
Boy, all these games except for one of them is you can play them on both consoles. By the way, there's not like a set. You can only play this one on Xbox.
Well, you say both consoles. You got to be a little bit more specific, though. You mean PS4,
PS4 and Xbox? I think maybe one of these you can probably play on Switch. Yeah, you can play.
Mine. Well, I'm just saying that because my games kind of run the gamut of video game consoles. So, all right, yeah. So I think one of my games you can get on the Switch. The other ones are just PS4, PC, and Xbox. All right, so Plague Tale: Innocence. It's a 2019 game, so it's only about 2 years almost. Okay. Yeah.
So I know about this game because sometimes I get on YouTube and I just Google. I search.
Sometimes you get on YouTube.
I search upcoming horror games, and there's people tend to make little like compilations of different trailers for like, here are the top 10 horror games coming out in 2019 or 2020.
Yes, I have also seen Watch Mojo a few times.
It's not Watch Mojo. It's like just random YouTubers. And literally it's just like the trailers lined up in a row, and that's it. So I watched the trailers, and then this one piqued my interest. It's an action-adventure horror stealth game that takes place in France during the 100-Year War, so like the 1300s, I think. Maybe 1400s.
Yeah.
And it's about this girl. Her name is Amicia de Runes, and her brother, and they're trying to survive after their house was attacked by the Inquisitions, and they had to travel across France while trying to avoid them and killer rats and the plague. That's the game.
They did not expect the Inquisition.
No, they did not.
They did not.
It's pretty brutal. It's beautiful. It looks like freaking gorgeous.
So you said this is a horror game?
It's like a stealth horror game.
Okay, all right.
So it's one of those games where like, you don't have like a power. You can't have weapons.
Yeah.
Like you're the only weapon you have is a slingshot.
Okay.
Because you're like a 12-year-old girl or 13 or 14 or whatever.
Right.
It's a slingshot, and then as the game goes on, you can like upgrade your slingshot where you can do like you can put like a sleeping, because you meet like a chemist, and he's able to put like sleeping stuff together, so like it knocks someone out, or like a poison.
Okay.
And, like, releases a cloud, so you can like upgrade it to like attack people and stuff. But like
I now have the chloroform slingshot.
Yeah. For the most part, you can't kill anybody because you just have a rock. You can distract them. You can knock their helmet off and make them angry. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the whole point is you have to use your slingshot to like trap them, because the rats, they're afraid of light. So like, for example, you could be in a room and it has tons of rats. You have a slingshot. You're next to like a flame, and the soldier has a torch. And you can use your slingshot to knock the torch out of their hand, and the rats will eat him. It
reminds me a lot of Dishonored.
I haven't played Dishonored.
The rat mechanic in that.
But that's first person, right? This is third person.
Yeah.
So it's the whole point of the game is like avoiding soldiers, building traps with the slingshot, like to trap them and stuff, and using stealth to avoid being killed.
Okay.
And then also you have to avoid the rats.
All right.
So it's a game that not many people know of, and it's definitely one that I think a lot of people should check out. It's because again, I think it's a really beautiful looking game for being an independent studio. This studio, I mean, they're mainly known for simulators. So they made like a Sobo, I think is the studio, and they did like Truck Simulator.
they Microsoft Flight Simulator.
Yeah, they just did Microsoft
Farm Simulator.
Yeah, and then they made this game.
A studio of culture.
Yeah, and actually one of my friends works for the it's like the, because there's the developer studio, and then there's a studio that does like all the marketing, and she works for that studio.
Oh, so like the publisher basically.
Huh?
Publisher.
Yeah, the publisher.
Yeah.
So she literally, what she did was she designed like part of the cover, and then she did some of the the online marketing for it. So yeah, it's a really cool game.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty violent. It's really gory. Like in the first 5 minutes, a dog gets destroyed by rats, and then it just gets more gruesome from there. Again, like some of the deaths are insane. Like the rats just like rip people up, and then it gets pretty bonkers.
Coming this winter, Hungry Hungry Rats from the creators of Hungry Hungry.
It starts off pretty, pretty intense, and then by the end it gets a little silly, but I still think it's worth checking out. And again, it's one of those games where it was critically acclaimed. People loved it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's sold not even close to 1 million copies.
Right.
And again, it's a game where I'm like, hey, Drew, you heard this game? And you literally said no.
Why didn't we play this for Halloween? Is my question.
Because it's on Xbox. I only have it for the Xbox.
Oh.
Yikes. I mean, I could buy my Xbox.
Yikes.
Yeah. All right, Drew. What is your number 2 game?
Okay, so number 2 on my list, I've got a game from 2000, the year 2000, Y2K, baby. When we all thought the computers were going to grow sentient and eat us or something. I don't know.
You put a 20-year-old game on this list? Bro, so this is what's funny real quick.
Yeah.
All my games are within the last 10 years, and all of Drew's games are like...
I told you.
Before 2010.
Dude, it runs the gamut, man.
I think every single one of your games is before 2010.
Yeah, actually.
All my games are like 2013 and later.
Deep cuts, man. The game is called Summoner. It is an RPG that was a launch title for the PS2. It was also on PC. It got pretty mixed reviews, again, kind of in the high 7s range. But what I love about this game, and I love RPGs already, so already it's kind of on my radar. But what I love about this game is tonally, it is super dark. I love it. I love the dark shit. The intro cutscene basically describes how the main character, and he's the titular summoner, of course. He basically accidentally summoned a demon that destroyed his entire village. And murdered his family, his friends, all that good stuff, And then he moved to a new village, and as the game opens, that village is under attack by bandits essentially, and on fire. So this guy really has no luck when it comes to hometowns.
Yeah.
Any place he moves to, it's destined to be burned to the ground. So it kind of reminds me a lot of Baldur's Gate. It kind of has a little bit of a similar gameplay flow, where it kind of has this combination of turn-based and then active combat. So you and your opponents swap turns basically, fighting. But when it's your turn, the character that you're controlling, you can do these chain attacks, which will, add different modifiers or stuff like that. You can steal, you can confuse your opponents by shoving them or knock them off balance and stuff like this. So there is kind of this skill-based kind of combat to it, and So even when it's in the combat, you're still active. You're still involved basically, which I think is really neat. And yeah, I'm just actually I'm recently replaying this game because it's on Steam. I didn't know this, but apparently the original publisher THQ, they went bankrupt and they had to auction off all of their IPs. And a studio named Nordic Games basically bought a lot of the big properties like Darksiders and Red Faction, and they also bought Summoner, and then subsequently put Summoner on Steam, and it's for $4.99. That's a freaking steal. It is, yeah. It's bonkers. So, if you have a PC, it doesn't, even if you have a crap gaming PC, you should be able to run it. It's a game from 2000. But
unless you have a computer from the 90s.
Yeah, unless you have a computer from the 90s, yeah, you're fucked. But, yeah, if you have a PC and if you have Steam, or even if you have a secondhand gaming store near you and you have a PS2 still, pick it up. It's a pretty decent playthrough. Yeah, I would highly.
So there's a lot different than I thought from just searching it.
Yeah, it got a sequel too, so I don't think it underperformed. You know, like I couldn't find any sales data for it.
It's like RuneScape.
But yeah, the graphic. I mean, obviously, it's a game from 2000. The graphics are not going to hold up as well. But yeah, definitely check it out if you're a fan of like RPGs. If you're a fan of Baldur's Gate style or like Divinity. If you're a fan of Divinity, Original Sin, or Original Sin 2, or anything like that, Pillars of Eternity, you'll probably like this.
Yeah.
All right, Sergio, what is your second game?
All right, Drew. Have you heard of a little game called A Way Out?
I actually have heard of A Way Out.
Yeah. Okay, this is a little. I think this is a little more well-known, but it's still one of those games where it didn't sell a lot of copies.
I just remember the guy at E3 that was like so enthusiastic about it, and it honestly made me want to go out and buy it.
Did you?
Huh?
Did you?
I have not bought it yet, but it's on my list.
Wow, I went out and bought it. It's a game where you need to need to play with a person.
Yeah.
Well, because it came out.
We should do a playthrough of it sometime.
It's only $30. Yeah, why not? Couch co-op, baby.
Yeah,
it is
the rare couch co-op
It's so much fun. So
the 2010s.
It's a game where you play two guys in prison that are wrongfully put in prison, and they're trying to break out together.
Yeah,
and
it's like a buddy cop game, except they're not cops; they're lawbreakers.
Yeah. Wow, you weren't even close. So it's a game where like it has two different screens, and you'll like walk through different things at the same time, or it'll be one screen together because you're in the same room. So pretty much you'd be like, hey, I gotta get this key from the guard, distract him.
Yeah.
So then like you'll walk off, and the screen will split in half. You gotta cause a distraction, while player 2 has to like sneak behind the guard and like grab the key as he's distracted. Yeah. So it's really cool gameplay. The story's pretty fun. It's really cheesy. Kind of reminds me of like an 80s action movie.
Yeah.
I think it's a French developer that made it. It's really cheesy, 1980s.
It does look super fun. I do want to play it. Like I would love to play it because the guy, when he was up there, like I said, he was up there on the E3 stage, like talking about his game. You could tell he was super passionate about it. Like loved the idea. And the game, it is kind of a niche game, I feel like, but like you just don't see a lot of those anymore. It's all like Call of Duties and big bombastic action and stuff like that now. And this one is more subtle.
And it's usually gonna be all online. This is couch co-op.
Yeah,
like its main feature.
Yeah, exactly. Like when was the last time like a game touted like couch co-op as its main form of gameplay?
Definitely. All right, Drew, what is your next game?
All right, so we're going back to the year 2004, baby. Another licensed game as well. I'm a big fan of the James Bond series. So there's a lot of James Bond games that I love, but there was one...
I think of the last James Bond game that came out.
Really?
Yeah.
It was...
There wasn't one for Spectre. There wasn't one for Skyfall.
There was 007 Legends, which was really, really bad.
Isn't that just a remake of other?
It basically combined. It tried to combine like 5 movies into one game.
I thought it took other pre-existing games and just put Daniel Craig in them instead.
No. It took actually. They tried to focus on movies that didn't already have games. That's why Die Another Day is the Brosnan movie in Legends, even though Die Another Day is a crap movie. But regardless, talking about good 007 games.
Is it good in like finger quotes, or these actually?
No, I actually think. Okay, so the game is 007 Everything or Nothing, and when I say it's good, I mean that people often refer because this was Pierce Brosnan's last performance. They actually got a lot of the main cast, like Pierce Brosnan, Judi Dench, and John Cleese, who was playing Q at the time, right? They got them all to reprise their role and use their likeness for their characters in the game. So this is Pierce Brosnan's last performance as James Bond, because this was after Die Another Day. Die Another Day was 2002, I believe. And people often refer to this as the Bond film of 2004. That's how good the game is.
Okay.
And they didn't just get like the movie characters and the actors. They got like a bunch of other like cool talent. Like they got Willem Dafoe is the villain.
Dafoe is the villain?
Willem Dafoe is the villain.
He's not the friend?
No, he's not the friend. He Dafoe. And yeah, and he like connects to like a previous movie's villain, like Christopher Walken.
I would kill to see a 2004 CGI render of Willem Dafoe.
It's pretty fucking great, honestly. Heidi Klum is in it, and Shannon Elizabeth.
No.
From America. Yes, dude, I'm telling you, this game is stacked with talent.
Judi Dench is in it too.
Judi Dench actually is in the game, dude. Yes, it's great. And they got Richard Kiel, the guy who played Jaws from Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, back to reprise his role as well. So yeah, it's just like a big. I think it's like a James Bond fan's wet dream, honestly, because you get to drive awesome cars, like actually drive them, not like on rails segments like a lot of the games nowadays would do or something like that.
Oh, no.
You get to have like really awesome moments where you're using gadgets or like sneaking around, like really awesome locales. Like you go from, you're like in Egypt. And then New Orleans, and then Peru, and Moscow, and like all these really cool locales and stuff like that. And there's just these like little moments where you can like do something, and it'll actually reward you for playing like James Bond would. The one that I always remember is you're going to like a club in New Orleans, and you have to like sneak in because the guys at the front won't let you in. So you have to go in through like a second story window, and there's like a girl in there getting a massage, and like James Bond like massages her, and it's like, hey, you got a Bond moment, because that's what James Bond would do, is perv on women, you know?
Yeah, we should cancel James Bond.
Speaking of which, No Time to Die comes out April. What's the date?
It'll come out eventually. Come out in April.
It's like Cyberpunk at this point. Like we're not sure when it's coming out.
They the James Bond basically for like every movie, and then Quantum of Solace got a video game.
Quantum of Solace did get a video game. And then after that, they did a remake of GoldenEye and stuff like that. But like, yeah, so I do feel like this game, again, average ratings, nothing too fancy. I just feel like people turn their noses up at licensed games a lot, because it's like the thought is the
majority of them are crap.
The majority of them are crap. I feel like people often turn their noses up at them.
Every now and then you'll get a Spider-Man 2.
Yes, you'll get a Spider-Man 2, or you'll even get like Marvel Spider-Man, like the PS4 version.
That's different, because when
it's still a licensed
video game, it's gonna be from a movie, so they're making a quick buck.
It's still a licensed character,
or making a game based in the. Yeah, but
agree
I think
to
it's
disagree.
Different. Because then I'd be like, oh, the Batman Arkham games are totally just like they're in the same vein as a Batman Begins video game from the year 2005.
I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree on that one, but
no way.
You're
wrong.
Either way, it doesn't change the fact that people often disregard all licensed games because of the majority, when there are a lot of good ones out there. Mm-hmm. And I think this is one of those cases where you have like a really, really good licensed game. So check it out. It was on PS2, original Xbox, and GameCube as well. There was a Game Boy Advance version, again, much like Third Age, but the Game Boy Advance version it's something. But yeah, stick to the console version, honestly, if you want to get the full experience.
Cool.
All right, Sergio, what is your third game that I've probably never heard about?
I think you've heard of this one, Sunset Overdrive.
What? Sunset Overdrive? Yeah. That was a big game for the Xbox One, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, not really, actually. So I looked it up, and it actually only sold about 1 million copies.
Wow, really? Only 1 million?
Yeah.
Damn.
Only. Let me post a number. Hold on. But it's a
That's
game.
Crazy.
One, I think it's a game.
They marketed that game like hell.
Yeah,
dude.
because it was a huge. It's supposed to be like one of their launch. Like,
yeah.
oh, this is it. This is gonna be the game. So, as of 2014,
Sunset Overdrive and Halo 5 Guardians,
past
baby.
6 years, it's only sold 1.16 million copies.
That is insane.
Compared to Spider-Man, which has sold like 13 million copies worldwide.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right. So it came out in 2014. It was about 1 year after launch. Developed by good old Insomniac Games. This was the last exclusive they did for the Xbox before being bought up by Sony. I think it's the only exclusive they did for the Xbox. Mm-hmm. It was a game that they were working on for a while, and then they pitched it to a bunch of studios, and Microsoft was really into it.
Yeah.
And Sony was really, not Sony, Insomniac was really into what they were going to do with the Xbox One for some reason. I don't know why. And they all right, let's do this. So
we just really love what you guys are doing with always online DRM.
Yeah, we love not 1080. What was it? It was like 1400. Yeah,
I don't fucking remember. The only thing I remember is always online DRM.
No, it was 900. It was like 900.
And the games can no longer be transferred for some fucking reason.
But that was turned off.
Yeah.
So they took their skills from some of the Ratchet and Clank games they made and Spyro and all that. And they created a really fun game. It's like kind of rhythm based. When I say rhythm, I mean like there's a flow to how you move and how you attack enemies and how, it's like you'll be like in a giant area, closed off. Mm-hmm. Just have waves of enemies coming in, and you're like parkouring and skating and shooting the enemies or hitting them with your melee weapons. And it's just it's an open world shooter, and there's definitely a lot of, because I played this not when it came out. Actually, I played it a couple years ago when it was like a free game from the Xbox. I was like, I'll probably finally check it out. And playing that, and then recently I just played Spider-Man on the PS4. Yeah, and there's a lot of, you could see a lot of what they took from Sunset Overdrive and how they transferred over to Spider-Man. With the parkour and the swinging and the how Spider-Man moves and stuff like that, a lot of that is in Sunset Overdrive.
Yeah.
And I guess they wanted to make a sequel. They really were excited about doing a sequel, but then Sony bought them, and Sony said no sequel.
No sequel. Only make Sony games now.
No, I think that Sunset Overdrive is super underappreciated. I think it's I think it was an Xbox exclusive that should have started a franchise. It should have been a big hit. Yeah. It's really cartoony. It's really over the top. It's a lot of fun. You're basically killing. So basically the whole story is like there's this new energy drink that comes out, and it's kind of like Monster Energy. Right. People drink and they turn to like these like grotesque zombies. Not like zombies. They're like mutations. And it's so funny. And then basically you live in a world of like skaters, parkourers, like you're a janitor and stuff.
It's funny because like it reminds me of another underrated game, Jet Set Radio.
Yes,
in a lot of respects.
It's a lot like that. Yeah.
Like through the movement, kind of like the social commentary story, and the fact that it's just super underrated and underappreciated.
Yeah, and again, it's a super fun shooter. Is like super creative world building. It's super funny. Yeah, I think the humor really sells it. And then all the gun designs and the creature designs and the character designs. There's just so much to love, and the level designs and the world designs with like the skating and stuff like that. It's great. And I'm so sad that I'm sad that I didn't play it when it came out back in 2014. I think I played it in like 2017 or 2018. And I'm also sad that Insomniac still wanted to do a sequel, and Sony said no. Because I think that it would have been cool for it to get a sequel, even if it was only on PlayStation. Just knowing that, like, at least some people can continue that story.
So I might have missed it. Did you say how many copies it sold?
It sold 1 million copies, like 1.6 something.
Okay.
But yeah, not a lot.
Yeah,
not a lot. All right, Drew, what's your next game?
Okay, so the next game, this is getting a little bit more modern, not too much though.
Yeah, I think this is your most modern.
This is my most modern game though. It shortly before 2010, the Saboteur was released, and I remember being so excited for this game when I would read about it in like Game Informer and stuff like that. And it didn't quite live up to my expectations, I guess. But I still think for what it is, it's a fun game. It basically, the whole thing is you are in Paris during World War II, Nazi occupied Paris, and you play as an Irishman, And he likes to blow up shit, and he's got a personal vendetta against Nazis. So what's he gonna go do? He's gonna go blow up shit and punch Nazis in the face.
Hell yeah!
It's a pretty fun fucking time, honestly. It was made by Pandemic Studios, who made the Mercenary series, which this game heavily borrows the formula from. They also made the original Battlefront games. Star Wars Battlefront, okay. Yeah. And also Destroy All Humans.
Oh, I love Destroy. Are they still around? Did they do the remake?
No, they are not around anymore. And a lot of people blame this game for that, actually.
Really?
This was like their swan song, essentially. They after this game came out...
Not much of a swan song if it kills the company.
Well, yeah. But like they basically folded kind of after... Like they had a string of bad... games. They tried to do a Battlefront-esque Lord of the Rings game, Lord of the Rings Conquest, and they made this game, and yeah, it just kind of didn't work out for them. This game has not even sold 1 million copies.
Jesus Christ.
Just shy. In all its time of being out there in the sphere of influence, But I do think this game has some really cool design elements, like so the main thing is that everything starts in black and white, right? Mm-hmm. And then as you slowly start to liberate sections of the city, it becomes more colorful, kind of representing the morale around the city, which is a neat idea. I also think it's really fun to kind of explore the city of Paris, because we haven't seen that a whole lot. I can only think of really this game and Assassin's Creed Unity that have really allowed us to explore the city of Paris in like a video game environment.
Are you talking about up to now?
Like up till now, yeah.
The new Wolfenstein is based in Paris.
Oh, is it really? Okay, yeah. I haven't played the new Wolfenstein.
Youngbloods.
Oh, yeah. I have not played. I haven't played any of the new Wolfensteins, which I really should.
At least the first one.
Because I've heard good things. I've also heard good things about the New Order or whatever it is, but yeah. But yeah, and then also you get to drive in like 1940s era cars, which some of them are like really, really cool. So if you want to check it out, it's on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. I just think it's a really smashing good time. I don't know. I was trying to think of a joke. I couldn't do it. Let's just move on. Move on to your next game.
Wow. I'm going to insert a booing sound effect. Get off the stage.
I deserve it.
It's smashing. So, Drew, there's a little game series. It's one of my favorite game series, and I'm so sad that it's been 7 years, and we haven't had anything from it. It's a game series called Dead Space. Now, the first two Dead Spaces, Dead Space 1 and Dead Space 2, I consider them classics.
Okay.
Well, the first one, they're both critically and financially successful. Both big hits with critics and fans, and they sold tons of copies, and they're huge.
I played the first one, but I've never played the second one.
So the first game is straight up a horror game,
yeah,
right?
Survival horror.
And the second game is a little more action.
Yeah.
I like to say it's kind of like your first game, that's your Alien, and your second game, Dead Space 2, is your Aliens.
Yeah.
And
it's
a lot of they're both great games. I love them. But then Dead Space 3 was not critically acclaimed or financially successful. It was met with mixed, though these mixed reviews were on the little more favorable side. It was still mixed.
Yeah.
And it only sold a total of like 600,000 copies.
Wow.
And it ultimately killed the franchise.
When was it released?
2013.
Ooh, yeah, 2013. Yeah. No, nope.
It ultimately killed the franchise. And
no, sir.
I think they did that, and then they were put onto a Star Wars game. Visceral Studios was.
Oh yeah.
And then EA just killed the studio.
And then Visceral just completely died.
So I mean,
so sad.
It killed the franchise, and it also basically killed the studio, which is awful. Because that one. So
that's so.
If we're gonna stay with this Alien, the Alien films, this an Alien anthology.
Is this Resurrection?
No, Resurrection sucks. For me, I actually like Alien 3, the director's cut.
Oh, okay.
I think it's an okay movie. I think it's a little underrated.
All right.
And I would say Dead Space 3 is an equivalent to that, where it's not as good as the first two, but I do think it was unfairly judged, and a lot of the decisions that were taken out of the control of the studio. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the things like it needs to be more action heavy was because of EA. and then that ends up ultimately killing it, right? Visceral still wanted to do, and there's a lot of it that like kind of bleeds through. There's still some really scary, intense moments in the game. The problem again is like it's more action than the last two. And again, although it sounds good as the first, I do think it's unfairly judged, man. And there's a lot of new and exciting elements. Like this is the first Dead Space, the first and only Dead Space game with co-op, where you can play with a friend.
Yeah.
And that adds a lot, you know. And it's actually you play as a whole different new character. And he's in the story. You see him throughout, but then like when you're playing by yourself, he'll just like disappear, and then he'll come back in a cutscene, and like wasn't there the whole time.
Weird.
But if you're playing with co-op, he's there the whole time.
There. Yeah.
And what I heard is that they actually, because they hallucinate in the game a lot, because you know the monolith or whatever, and you know the causes Isaac's like not mentally well, so he has a lot of hallucinations. They actually have different hallucinations. So if you play online, you'll actually have experienced something different than the person playing with you. Yeah,
that's pretty neat.
So there's a lot of cool elements like that.
Yeah.
And then you know just being able to like, you have the laser gun and you shoot the creature, the necromorphs or whatever.
Necromorphs, yeah.
Yeah. And you blow up its leg, it starts crawling to you, and you walk up to it, and you smash it with your leg and just stomp it to death. It's so satisfying.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, geez, like, it's so gruesome, and, you know, it is gorgeous, and it's a whole new setting. Like, we're on a planet that I don't want to do any spoilers, I guess, but it's a giant planet, it's a snow planet, and it kind of reminds me a lot of, have you ever played the game series Lost Planet?
No, I have not, but I've heard of it.
Yeah. It reminds me a lot of that. That might be another underrated game, but it just didn't make my list. Where these creatures come out and they're like, it's all white, but the creature's like this goriness, like this red gunk under the snow as it's falling off of them, and they have weak spots that glow yellow. It looks so cool.
I do think, I mean, like I agree with you. Like it's a damn shame that Visceral had to go out on Dead Space 3.
I was looking forward to the Star Wars game too.
Yeah, well, yeah, because like they didn't get to make that Star Wars game because EA canned them, and it's because EA, you know, they like to hook up the IV bag, the IV drip, and just basically suck these developers dry over the years of just like any sort of creativity and like just with all this heavy-handed micromanaging and stuff like that. That's unfortunately the EA of today.
Basically, they take the games out of the studio's hands and say what they need to do to make them better, makes them worse, and then they like, why do you make a sucky game? And then they fire everybody.
And then they kill the studio. Like,
it's awful.
We've seen it with Visceral. We've seen it with several of BioWare's games, but for some reason they want to keep BioWare going and chugging.
Yeah, so although it's super unlikely, it would just be, for me, it would be nice to get either a sequel, so Dead Space 4, or maybe even like a soft reboot or a total reboot of the series.
Yeah.
You know, just something just to kind of bring that property back, because I think it's a property that should be one of the greats, honestly, and it's sadly it's not because of EA's interference. And
I mean, but you never know, because like. To compare it to another survival horror franchise, Resident Evil was struggling there for a little bit, and then they did like basically a complete gameplay reboot and kind of took it back to its roots, you know? Yeah. So something similar might happen with Dead Space. You never know.
Yeah. So you talking about Resident Evil 4 or Resident Evil 7?
Talking about Resident Evil 7.
Okay.
Well, I guess they did kind of... Well, no, yeah, Resident Evil 7 took it back to its roots. So, yeah, and Resident Evil 6 and Resident Evil 5 was okay. Resident Evil 6 definitely was not okay.
Yeah. But did those sell okay? I don't even know. Like,
I think Resident Evil 5 did pretty okay in terms of sales, but I think
Resident Evil is a weird game series in terms of, like...
It is.
It's so popular in the US and Japan. And then on top of that, it's like...
It just has such highs and lows.
Yeah. All right, dude, what's your last game on your list?
Okay, so the last game on my list, the last hill that I'm going to die on, is Star Fox Adventures. Okay, now hear me out. Okay, wait, before you say anything...
Wait, hold on. Is this Do a Barrel Roll?
No, that's Star Fox 64. Dang. No.
Is this the dinosaur one?
Yes. Yes. Now, before, like I was saying, before you say anything, though, because everybody likes to talk shit about this game, they like to say, it's not a Star Fox game. It's not. Shut the fuck up, first off. And then, second off...
really, it wasn't, though, right? It was a different game.
It was supposed to be a different game originally, yeah, and then Shigeru Miyamoto kind of came in and was like, hey, you know what would make this dinosaur game even better? Put fucking Star Fox characters in it.
He came in. He was high on cocaine.
Yeah,
he was like, "Bro, I have the craziest idea.
The best fucking idea. Like,
this dinosaur game, it needs a talking fox."
Yeah, they were like, "Okay, Shigeru, whatever you say. I mean, you created Zelda, you created Mario, you do all this shit, man. Like, whatever. We'll listen to whatever you say. Everything you do turns to gold."
This one did not.
But I mean, it sold a pretty modest 1.82 million units as of December 2014 is what I found, according to Nintendo anyway. But yeah, I do think this game gets a lot more flack than it deserves. It is not a traditional Star Fox game, that is true. But it still has the traditional like R-Wing elements where you do fly from like zone to zone, you know. But then the main kind of gameplay loop, I do think what Rare did here, and this was Rare this was the last game Rare made before they were acquired by Microsoft. And then we're kind of like regulated to making Kinect games for a while, and then finally Microsoft is letting them do their thing again.
Phil Spencer, baby.
Yeah. I think what Rare did here was they did actually make a pretty good action adventure game that kind of it's reminiscent. It's heavily reminiscent of the Legend of Zelda series. There's a lot of puzzles. There's a lot of item get sort of mechanics, like where you have to get an item and then go somewhere else. Dungeons, temples, all that fun stuff. But I think when you actually do play this game and you look at all of the elements, like you look at the environmental design, for example, and there's just a lot. And the GameCube has some great, like if you play a GameCube game today, it still looks really fucking good, a lot of them. And the environmental designs in this game like are just fucking excellent. The sound design, the score. I will say the combat can tend to get a tad repetitive. Mostly what it ends up being is like you end up circling around an enemy and then hitting them with your staff a few times and they die. But you can do a few combos and kind of change it up a little bit. But I do think this game gets just a lot of undeserved flack just because it's not a traditional Star Fox game. If you actually sit down and play it and just appreciate it for what it is, I think you've actually got a pretty decent game on your hands. It's only on the GameCube, so unfortunately, PS2. If you only have a PS2 or only an original Xbox, you're not going to be able to play it. But I still think it is worth a play. I mean, it got on the Player's Choice, so I mean, So yeah, I will staunchly defend Star Fox Adventures to my last breath, because against people who just say it's not a traditional Star Fox game, fuck you, dude.
What was the original game supposed to be called?
It was just gonna be called Dinosaur Planet.
And
and Crystal was gonna be the main character, like Crystal the fox that's in Star Fox Adventures. She was gonna be the main character throughout the whole game, not just like the prologue of the game that we have now.
Wow.
So they
took it from that studio.
Yeah.
And like bad.
Well, no. It was still gonna be Rare. Like Rare was working on Dinosaur Planet and it was originally supposed to come out on the Nintendo 64, and then they were like, hey, you know what would make this better? Two things: Nintendo GameCube and Star Fox.
So get effed.
So yeah, get fucked, Rare, apparently. and then Rare, like I said, wound up making Kinect games after this for the foreseeable future. So yeah, they literally got effed.
Let's see. I think they made Kinect Animals.
Kinectimals, yeah, or whatever the fuck it was called. Yeah, they made a slew of Kinect games. Until Sea of Thieves.
I think they did before Sea of Thieves. They had to have.
The Kinect? Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, like, different, like, okay, so they made Sea of Thieves, they made Rare Replay, Killer Instinct. That's not a Kinect game.
Oh, it's not a Kinect game, that's true, but
it
was a reboot of their fighting game from the
BanjoKazooie, Nuts and Bolts, Viva Pinata. How could you forget Viva
Oh, yeah,
Pinata?
I'm sorry. My apologies. How could I forget critically acclaimed BanjoKazooie, Nuts and Bolts, and Viva Pinata?
Viva Pinata is critically acclaimed.
BanjoKazooie Nuts and Bolts?
No, Viva Pinata.
Oh, Viva Pinata. Oh, okay.
Bro, Viva Pinata.
I don't know.
It's one of Dusty's favorite games.
I don't see what all the hubbub is about. I don't know.
Look at this. A. 9 out of 10. 9 out of 10. Viva Pinata received generally favorable reviews.
I don't know, man. Some games are just not for all people.
Perfect Dark Zero. Perfect Dark's pretty cool, right? I don't know. I haven't played it.
Perfect Dark Zero was, I believe, a remaster of the original game.
No, it was a new game.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay, because Conquer Live and Reloaded was literally just Conquer's Bad Fur Day, but remastered for Xbox graphics.
I'm pretty sure it was a new game. The rumor is that there's actually a Microsoft studio working on a new Perfect Dark game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That they're probably going to announce it soon.
There's some Perfect Dark fans out there. Yeah, why not?
It's only 2 games. So,
yeah.
Hey, if we can bring back Perfect Dark, we can bring back Dead Space, baby. I would die on this hill.
And we can bring back Perfect Dark. Bring back fucking BanjoKazooie or Conquer. Bring back all of Rare's.
BanjoKazooie is in Smash.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Fucking do it. Do it, Microsoft, you fucking pussies.
EA, you sell Dead Space off to someone else and give it.
Sell it to Microsoft. Phil Spencer will fucking make a Dead Space 4. I know he will.
Okay, so my last game.
Yes.
The last number 10 on our list of underrated games.
Yes.
It's a game that I talk about all the time.
Yes.
It's Hellblade.
Literally talk about it all the fucking time.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
This is the only game that I was kind of like, I think
it's underrated. One, it has not sold a lot of copies. It sold about less than 1 million.
Yeah.
In 3 years. Okay. Ninja Theory is not a big studio.
Right.
How they made this game was they work on other games for publishers. So they develop other games, and then they had their own little small crew on the side working on this game. So they're basically taking the money they're making from big studios and funneling it into this game, right? And this game is, honestly, it's like one of the most beautiful games I've ever played. It looks beautiful. The story's beautiful. I cry every time I play it.
It is a really beautiful looking game.
Yeah,
I will give it that.
Have you bought it yet?
No, I haven't bought it yet.
You son of a bitch. Okay, so you said, Sergio, if you
I did not say that.
If you play God of War, I will play Hellblade.
Oh
and I said, okay, I bought a PlayStation 4 and I got God of War, and I'm waiting on Drew to play.
You keep saying I said this, and I have no recollection of ever saying this.
It was in our group chat.
I do not remember this at all. I do not remember.
Because I think we were arguing about it, and I was like, Drew, play Hellblade. And you go, will you play God of War? And I said, okay, I'll play God of War. Because at that time, what we were gonna do is I was just gonna borrow Adam's copy of God of War and play on his.
I didn't know. Okay, if I do recall that, I didn't recall we were making like a blood pact or something like that. Like I had to do it.
This will only end when Drew buys Hellblade, and
I will probably play it eventually.
Not probably play it eventually. It's gotta happen soon.
What do you mean soon?
I will bug him every day for the rest of his life. Okay, it's so beautiful. Like I'm trying to get Chris to play it, and he won't play it for some reason. And I'm like, come on, Chris.
Getting Chris to play a game.
This is a game made for Chris. One, it deals with depression and anxiety, and
it really is.
It's like super emotional, and one, it looks great, has a beautiful story. And
okay, but the secret to getting Chris to play a game is you have to make him think it was his idea. You can't just tell him to play a game. You have to be like, man, this game is pretty cool. I don't know. Check it out, Chris. What do you think?
Is that how you did Last of Us?
Huh? Kind of. Not really, but like, yeah. The thing is, if you just tell Chris to play a game, he won't do it because it has to be his idea.
Yeah. Go just go play Undertale for the 5th time.
Yeah, right.
Or I guess 100th time. I don't know how many times he's played it. But yeah, anyway, this game, the action is great. The combat, it's a game where it doesn't hold your hand. So
yeah,
no HUD, no tutorial. It just puts you in the game, and then you got to figure it out. And for me, the selling point, the one I always tell people, is you have to play with headphones because it has 3D audio.
Oh wow!
So where it feels like it's coming
all
forward, back.
Yeah.
Because in the game she's schizophrenic, so she constantly hears voices. That are not even schizophrenic. I mean, people with like anxiety they'll hear themselves.
Yeah.
And they're basically it's not her voice, but it's like a representation of her.
Yeah.
And they're just constantly beating her down, and that's something that throughout the game they're lying to you. But they warn you about things. So there's no HUD, there's no indicator.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna be hit from behind, it'll be like behind you, and then turn around, and you can block it or whatever. Or it could be lying to you, and it'll say behind you, and they'll turn around, there's nothing there. So again, it's like when it's innovative. It was made by like 20 people. They did it. It was a 20 people team.
It's very impressive for 20 people.
The game was like so good. Phil Spencer shouted it out at a conference. and then literally like a couple months later, Microsoft bought Ninja Theory.
Yeah.
So I feel like he played it and was like, holy crap, this is a studio that we need to get behind, and then bought them.
We should acquire them.
Yes.
Do it.
And then Hellblade 2, baby, is coming to Xbox Series X.
We should acquire them. And Bill Gates is like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, and I'm really excited for the sequel.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what other games that Ninja Theory is doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's some things they're doing too. They're not even working on games too. They're working on this project to like help people that have schizophrenia.
Ooh.
It's like a virtual reality system.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So like, and it's like a virtual reality. And it's like developed by them, and they brought in a bunch of experts like in mental health and stuff and schizophrenia and stuff like that.
Wow.
To help people out. And they have another game coming out. So
Good Guy Ninja Theory.
I think Hellblade is a game that everyone should play. I recommend it to everybody. I've had a few people actually who have played it, and they've told me that this is such a beautiful game. They loved it, and they we'll play it again and again. I've played it like 2 or 3 times since the first time I played it, and I pretty much cried every time I played it. It's a beautiful journey.
That should be another video. Is like video games we've cried to. I don't know if I've ever cried at a video game, honestly though.
Really, dude?
I don't know.
I cried playing Spider-Man.
I don't know, man.
You didn't cry playing Spider-Man?
I didn't cry, but it was very emotional.
Dude, that made me tear. I cried at the end. What other case made me cry?
I don't know, man. I cannot recall off the top of my head.
The first Last of Us made me cry.
Actually, Last of Us 2 almost got me. Last of Us 2 Part 2 almost got me, actually.
Have you been that yet?
Huh?
Have you been that yet?
No, I'm still on the same part.
Have you touched it at all?
Dude, the gameplay is just so repetitive.
Yeah, it gets pretty repetitive.
I'm thinking about just watching all the cutscenes.
I think what made it easier was that me and Adam will switch off.
Yeah, that's fair.
You have to at least finish day 2 with Abby.
Yeah,
that's important.
Okay,
because there's a part in that part that I was like, what the F is this?
Okay.
And it feels straight out of Resident. It's because it's so like tonal shattering. Because like Last of Us is like super realistic. This is like what really happened in this infection spread and stuff like that. And then you get to this part in the game, and it's almost like a freaking Resident Evil style boss fight. And I was like, what the fuck? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so silly. Okay, well that's all my lists.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you enjoy any of these games, you should definitely go out and buy them. If you don't, you're a big fucking loser because these are some awesome games.
Yeah. Most of my games you can still get on Xbox or PlayStation or PC.
Mine, you gotta dive back a little bit further.
Yeah. You either go buy a GameCube,
and
then you can get Star Fox Adventures.
I think you can get a GameCube for like $30 or $40 now, or something like that. Maybe.
Who wants to buy a GameCube? All right.
But fuck you, dude. GameCube's
sucks.
best. All right, next episode is gonna be a GameCube appreciation episode. Fuck you. But yeah, I really enjoyed talking about a lot of these because again, like people always talk about again like the big AAA games, and not everybody like talks about these, and nobody knows like how great they can be or how much they might love them, So
yeah, and then Drew's gonna play Hellblade. All right, bye.